The biggest lie that I'll tell you today. But which one is which? Well, that's for you to find out now, as I start to tell you the two stories of the Giants Causeway. The Giants Causeway was built by volcanoes. 63 million years ago, this place was alive with volcanoes as they spewed out lava into a chasm that existed between here and Scotland. Constant eruptions kept that magma hot. Then a long, slow cooling process allowed it to chill and crack into the crystalline columns of rock that you'll see here today, 40,000 of them at this side alone. Just where you see that pinnacle of rock sticking up at the far headland there, that's where the Giants Causeway is. There's a similar amount at Fingal's Cave on the island of Stafford, just off the coast of Scotland. Now that's one story. That's what the geologists will tell you. There is, though, one other story, and it tells of a giant called Finn McCool. Now, Finn McCool was a kind and a peaceful giant. He looked after his people well, and he looked after the lands well. He was, however, constantly under threat from a giant from Scotland. That giant's name was Ben and Donna. Now, the two giants had never ever met. They'd never ever seen each other. They lived too far apart. Benandonner's name, by the way, means mountain of thunder. They had, though, on a daily basis, had to listen to a tirade of abuse from one another, shouting and bawling and cursing and swearing and threatening over the seas. One morning, Finn McCool, sick, tired and weary of listening to the threats of Ben and Donna, rose early and he built a causeway between here and Scotland. Using strange hexagonal columns of rock, he pushed them into the ground and into the seabed with his bare hands. When the causeway was finished, Finn McCool stood up at this side and he called over to the Scottish giant, telling him, "Come and fight for the lands, whenever you can find the courage to do so." Well, this was the biggest mistake that Finn McCool had ever made in his life. For as Ben and Donna could now be seen striding across the Giants Causeway, Finn McCool could see that this Scottish giant, this Ben and Donna, this mountain of thunder, was 2 times bigger than he was. Terrified, he ran to his wife, and he told her to pack all their belongings. "Get ready to leave," he said. "Leave now, and we leave with our lives." Una, Finn's wife, was just a bit more cunning, certainly a lot more intelligent than Finn McCool. She poured a large bottle of sleeping potion into Finn McCool's early morning barrel of beer. And when he drank the barrel of beer, he drank the sleeping potion, and immediately he fell sound asleep. As he slept, Una stripped him naked and then dressed him again, just like a baby. She even placed a baby's bonnet on his head. She then took carpentry tools and she manufactured a giant cradle. Lifting Finn McCool, she placed him in the cradle and stuck his thumb in his mouth. Just in time for the door to knock. It was Ben and Donna. He'd arrived and he was furious. Well, it was this Irish upstart who had the audacity to challenge him. Una answered the door, smiling politely into the ugly face of the big Scottish giant. She told him a lie. She told him that her husband, Finn McCool, had gone off to the fields to work. He'd forgotten all about the threat. It meant so little to him, it must have slipped his mind. He'd gone off to work. He'd be back soon enough, only too happy to fight for the lands. Now, if Ben and Donna knew what was good for him, he should go way back to Scotland before he got a thrashing from Finn McCool. He could come in and wait if he wanted, as long as he promised not to make a fuss and to wake the sleeping baby. Well, of course, Ben and Donna did not wish to appear to be a coward, so he agreed to come inside and not make a fuss. But once in the building, he saw the cradle in the corner and peered inside to have a look. And there he got the shock of his life. Lying there was Finn McCool, dressed like a baby, but he didn't know that. He thought it was the baby, snoring loudly, big bearded chin, breath stinking of stale beer. "Are you telling me that's the baby?" said Ben and Donna. "Of course it is," said Una. "That's Finn McCool's baby, all right. Take a seat. I'll bring you a nice cup of tea. There'll be no need for your hospitality, woman. I'm not staying here to meet the father of something as gigantic as that." And with that, he ran away back to Scotland again. But using his club, he smashed up the Giants Causeway, just to make sure that this Finn McCool, when he returned from work, wherever that was, couldn't follow him and do him any harm. But Finn McCool, lying sleeping in the cradle, heard the noise of the causeway breaking up, and it woke him from his deep sleep. And in a fit of anger at seeing his handiwork being destroyed, he gouged with his bare hand a sod of earth from the north of Ireland and threw it after the retreating Ben and Donna. Now, the sod of earth that Finn McCool gouged out of the ground left a hole that can still be seen today, even though it's filled with water. It's called Loch Ness. It's the largest inland waterway in the whole of the United Kingdom. It's bigger than Loch Ness in Scotland. In fact, it's bigger than Loch Ness in Scotland and all the lakes of the Lake District in England all put together. But what happened to this sod of earth that was thrown by Finn McCool after Ben and Donna? Well, Finn McCool was still a bit drunk from the beer. He was still a bit drowsy from the sleeping potion. In actual fact, Finn McCool in his whole life had never been a good shot with anything. So the sod of earth missed Ben and Donna, and instead it landed with a mighty splash right in the middle of the Irish Sea. And today we call that the Isle of Man. Now, you might well think that second story was the lie, the fairy tale, the legend. But let me put it to you this way. Have a look around you. Can you see any volcanoes? Take a look at a map of the United Kingdom though, and compare the size, the shape, the area of Loch Ness to the size, the shape and the area of the Isle of Man. And even to the untrained eye, you'll have to admit there are certain similarities. So let me say this to you. What you're about to see here today is no geological phenomenon at all. This Giants Causeway really and truly was built by giants.